Hey everyone, welcome back to the Unconventional Whovian. If you're new here, this is the channel where we talk about Doctor Who from angles that don't always get discussed. Not rankings, not rumors, not clickbait. Today I want to talk about a companion that almost everybody seems to dislike and ask whether that reputation actually makes sense. And if you've got thoughts you'd rather say out loud instead of typing, I've set up a phone number where you can leave a voicemail with your take. It's an unconventional way to join the conversation, but it felt right for this channel. That number is, hi Ricky, 609-451-0222, and it'll be on the screen as well. If you enjoy thoughtful Doctor Who discussion, feel free to like the video, subscribe, and share your thoughts, however you choose to do it. When Doctor Who fans talk about companions they don't like, one name comes up again and again. Adric. He's often described as annoying, arrogant, whiny, unnecessary. And what's interesting is that those descriptions get repeated so often that they've almost become accepted fact. Like it's settled, like there's nothing left to say. But I've never been completely satisfied with that. Not because Adric is perfect, he isn't. But because I think his reputation says more about the situation he was placed in than about who he actually was as a companion. So today, I'm not here to tell you that Adric was flawless or that you have to suddenly like him. I'm here to ask a simpler question. Was Adric actually a bad companion? Or was he a deeply misunderstood one? To answer that, we need to move past reputation and actually look at context. So instead of staying in fan consciousness territory, let's take this argument to the wall and actually defend it. Here's the core of my argument. Adric is often judged as if he joined a normal TARDIS team and simply failed to fit in. But Adric never entered a normal situation. From the very beginning, he was operating at complete disadvantage. Adric is a stowaway, and that matters. Adric comes from E-Space, a parallel universe the TARDIS becomes trapped in during the E-Space trilogy. Full Circle, State of Decay, and the Warrior's Gate. And unlike many companions, Adric isn't invited. He doesn't stumble into adventure and get swept along. He doesn't get chosen. He stays. He's a stowaway. And that creates a very different psychological starting point, because if you're a stowaway, you're asking yourself the same question over and over again. Do I actually belong here? Or am I just tolerated until I'm inconvenient? And that insecurity colors everything Adric does. The second problem Adric faces is the Doctor himself. When Adric joins the TARDIS, the Doctor is the fourth Doctor, Tom Baker. Brilliant, mercurial, unpredictable, and often dismissive. The fourth Doctor can be warm, but he also challenges people constantly. He tests them, he needles them, he expects them to keep up. That alone would be intimidating for any companion, especially a young one trying to prove his worth. And Adric's identity is built around one thing: his intelligence, which is a dangerous identity to bring into the TARDIS. Because Adric isn't just dealing with one Time Lord. He's dealing with two. Romana isn't a standard companion. She's a Time Lady. She's precise, confident, and highly competent, often less forgiving of mistakes. So every time Adric tries to contribute intellectually, he's being measured against a Time Lord with centuries of experience and another Time Lord who can do the same job, often better. That's not a normal companion dynamic. That's like being a gifted student dropped into a room full of professors and expected to justify why you're there. Then there's K9. Now, K9 is often treated as comic relief, but in Adric's specific situation, K9 represents something else entirely, and that's reliability. K9 computes faster. K9 doesn't doubt himself. K9 doesn't need validation. K9 is often right. So now Adric is being compared to the Doctor, an authority and experience, Romana, authority and precision, and K9, perfect logic with no insecurity. If you're Adric, the message becomes very clear. Even your best skill isn't special here. And when someone's special thing stops being special, they don't get quieter. They get defensive, which often reads to the audience as annoying. Then comes regeneration. The fourth Doctor becomes the fifth Doctor, and suddenly the TARDIS gets more crowded, not calmer. Now, Adric is traveling with Nyssa, who's intelligent, composed, emotionally controlled, and Tegan, outspoken and unafraid to challenge authority. So Adric is still the youngest voice, the least experienced, and the least respected. And now he's also being socially outpaced. When decisions are made, he's not central. He makes debates happen, and he gets talked over. This is where many viewers decide Adric is the problem. But I'd argue the opposite. The environment never gives him a role where he can succeed. And that brings us to Earthshock. This is the story that permanently defines Adric in the fandom. Adric stays behind. He works the calculations. He tries to stop the Cybermen plan. And the most important detail is this. Adric never gets confirmation. He never hears, you did it. He never gets applause. He never gets closure. He dies hoping he was right. And the show underlines this by ending the episode with silent end credits. Something Doctor Who had never done before. That silence matters because Adric's story isn't about triumph. It's about commitment without recognition. And that leads to the uncomfortable question fans don't like to ask. If Adric hadn't been there, if Adric hadn't stayed behind, would Nyssa have done the same thing? Would Tegan? I'm not saying they weren't brave, but Adric was. He was brave. He made the choice knowing he wouldn't be there to see the result. That's not cowardice. That's not uselessness. That, my friends, is sacrifice. Adric wasn't written to be charming. He was written to be human. He represents insecurity, pride, the need to matter, the fear of being unwanted, and the tragedy of never knowing if you are good enough. That makes people uncomfortable. Because he doesn't fit neatly into the fantasy of the TARDIS crew. So, here's where I land. Adric wasn't perfect. He could be frustrating. He could be immature. He could be difficult. But if we reduce him to the annoying one, we flatten the story. Because Adric spent his entire run trying to earn his place. And when the moment came where it truly mattered, he stayed. And he never even got to know if it worked. And maybe that's why his story still unsettles people. Not every companion gets applause. Some of them just do the math and hope they were right. Thanks for watching The Unconventional Whovian. I would really love to hear your thoughts, especially if you still disagree. I'll see you next time.